morning, children. Welcome to your English video lecture, and I hope that all of you are fine and doing good at your home. So, students, as you know that we were doing English literature, and in English literature, in our previous video, we have completed the chapter number 3 from your book Honeycomb, that was by the name The Hilsa Fish, Gopal and the Hilsa Fish, right? We have done the chapter. Now in this video we will be starting a different book today, okay? The book is the name of the book is An Alien Hand, okay? In this book we are going to start the chapter number 3 from the book by the name The Desert, okay? And we will see that what is given in the chapter, and as we all do all time in our every video, what we do, we read the chapter, and with the reading session we do the explanation of the chapter. So similarly we will do this with this chapter also. So first of all, that I have a question for all of you, that when you hear about the word desert, what are the images that come to your mind, or what are the things that you think about? It must be a very vast land without any water, without any land, and all over that land you may imagine only sand. Okay, this is the general picturization of desert that everyone has when they don't know exactly about the desert. So in this chapter we are going to see that desert, yes, it is a land of very minimal things, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have surprises in it, okay? So the story The Desert sends a very powerful message about the values of desert, okay? That the land has many things to offer. Okay, it is not just a wasteland, it is a land which offers different things to us. It's just that the image that we have of this land is not the proper image, okay? So this is that we are going to read or see in this chapter. So let's start reading the chapter and then we will do the discussion. So first of all, let's read the points that are given here. A desert is generally without water and vegetation. A green path with fresh water and green trees in the middle of a vast desert is a beautiful sight. A desert may be too hot or too cold. Okay, so these are the points that we are going to read in this chapter. Okay, so let's start reading the chapter and then we will do the explanation part. Those of us who live in regions covered with forest and surrounded by hills may find it difficult to imagine what a desert is really like. The popular belief is that it is an endless stretch of sand where no rain falls and therefore no vegetation grows. It is dry, hot, waterless, and without shelter. But this is not entirely correct. For those who have studied it, the desert can be a beautiful place. It is the home of a variety of people, animals, and plants that have learned to live under very hot and dry conditions. So here in this first paragraph of the chapter, it is given that the story, the desert, the story, as you know that by the name, you can imagine that the story will revolve around the desert. Okay, so in this first paragraph, it is given to us that many people they have a perception that desert is a place where people live where there is no vegetation, where there is no greenery, and animal or people, they live in scarcity, means they live in all the hot weather together, and whatever the condition might be in the desert, it seems like that all the people who live there, they have a very difficult life. This is the perception of people who live at places or are surrounded by places with hills or very high mountains. Peoples like us, as you can see that around us there is so much of greenery. We have mountains, we have water all around, we have so much of greenery around us. So whenever we think about the word desert, the only thing we can imagine about is a, a land with all sand. Okay, we can only have this image in our mind, but it is not the true image of the place, because we think that the land of desert that we have a perception about will be a land, a wasteland, where there is no life, where there is no no rainfall, there is nothing, and it is just a land which is stretched all over, and it has only sand. This is the perception that people have who live in the places where the greenery is, where the hills are. Okay, people like us who have not visited the place yet, right? But here also it is written that to those people who have read about the desert, or who knew that what are the surprises that desert can offer, knows that how beautiful the place is. Okay, it is generally home to many different type of animals and different plants. Those plants that can grow in desert will not grow in the places where we live, right? So desert has many things to offer. So here this was given in the first paragraph, that those people who live in the places where there is greenery, where there is all rain and sunshine together, they don't know the exact condition of the desert, right? And it is also said that many people hold the opinion that the desert is nothing more than a land of sand only, an endless land where only sand is. Okay, and what else, that for people who have people generally have the impression of desert as as it will be, it is dry, it is thin, it is waterless, it is hot there, and without any shelter. They think they have this perception until unless they know that what desert actually is. So people hold a negative opinion there. In this particularly, it is shown that people have a negative perception about desert. They have negative opinion about desert because they don't know the actual reality of the desert. Because by the word desert, the only thing they could think about is this, that there will be hotness, there will be dryness, there will be waterlessness. So this is the perception that people have about desert, but this perception is not actually true. And after reading the chapter, we will realize this also, that the perception that we actually had about desert, for those people who have never visited desert and who never knew the actual beauty of desert. Okay, let's read next paragraph. True, the ground is not always hidden by a cover of grass, plants, and trees as it is in other climates. But whenever it rains, which is rare, desert flower blossom bloom, and the sight can be rewarding as that of any tropical garden. So what is said here, that yes, it is true that the desert is a land where there is no grass, no plant, and no tree all the time, right? But what happens then, whenever there is rain, which is very rare for the desert, the flower of desert, they bloom. Okay, and they shine, and they spread the beauty there also. So whenever there is a rain, the flower of desert, they spread, and they show the beautiful sight to us that we could see at any other tropical land which is not a desert, right? So here the actual scene, you can imagine that when there is rain in the for in the desert, which is very rare for the desert area to have rain. But whenever that happens, what happened, that all the flowers that are in desert, they bloom, and the sight is very beautiful, because you can imagine that a place where there is no greenery, and you suddenly see all those beautiful sights, you will feel impressed and you will feel the beauty of it. It is said that there is no difference that exists between the desert and the tropical lands, right? Desert are filled with different things that we can see, and also that the that when desert show its brightness, it shows its beauty, then the sight is very beautiful. Although the place is very less with the beautiful plant or the greenery, but whenever you can see these type of sight in the desert, the land that you see that time is very beautiful, and the sight is also very shiny to your eyes. Okay, so this is that we have read till now. Now let's continue. A desert is not always a flat, unchanging wasteland of dry sand. It may have mountains and hills. It may have oases, big or small. An oasis is like a green island in the middle of a desert where a spring or a well given plants and trees a better chance to grow. A desert may be hot like the Thar or cold like Ladakh. But generally speaking, if a place has little or no water and vegetation, people usually call it a desert. So, so they are again for putting forward all the things like that there is no difference that exists in the other land or the desert, right? They are saying that yes, desert is not only a flat land, it is a unchanging or it is not a unchanging wasteland. Wasteland means a land which is waste. Okay, there a land in which you cannot do any type of vegetation or there is no life basically. So wasteland is a land where is no life. Okay, so it is said that they are saying that the desert is not a wasteland, it is a land of changing realities. Okay, it is a land which constantly changes with time to time. It also has beautiful mountains around it, it also has hills. Okay, desert are filled with these beautiful hills and mountains, but not necessary it is flat. Okay, and also that an oasis, they are mentioning that they have oasis also. And what is the meaning of oasis? It's like a green island in the middle of the desert. Okay, that is known as oasis. So they are mentioning that oasis is similar to a green land, which is island, which is present on the desert, and you may find it in the middle of the desert. And when you get to see the site of that island, green island, which is oasis, you will feel that how beautiful this situation or how beautiful that island is, right? And also they have mentioned that desert may consist of green plants and trees. Such plants and trees certainly provides comfort and shelter to people. Furthermore, they have added that desert can also consist of springs. They are mentioning that yes, desert also have their own springs where there is beautiful sight of desert that you can see, where beautiful plants and trees are grown. There are chances of their growth. Okay, and also that a desert is a hot region in which is a hot region, it also can be a cold region. They have mentioned that yes, desert can be as hot as Thar desert for the hotness, and it can also be cold as Ladakh. The if you don't know that the sand at night of places like desert, what happens when there is no sunlight at the night, the sand is actually very cold. So due to that coldness, you may feel like the that you are at Ladakh. Okay, so you can see that how difference they have. In the morning you will feel like as if you are in a place like Thar desert, but at night the coldness is so much that you may feel that you are at Ladakh. So that is the whole difference that it has, a very vast difference from night to night to day and day to night. It has such vast range of weather, or you can say condition. The desert have this vast range of weathers and conditions in them. Okay, and they have also mentioned that how beautiful the place is. Generally speaking, they have said that if a place has a little water, or no little vegetation, so people generally call it as a desert, but which is not actually true. Yes, desert is a place where the greenery is less, where the situation is little less like other lands, but it doesn't mean that a place where is no vegetation, where there is no vegetation or no water, you may you call it as as a desert. So that is not the way of saying it, or you can say this is not how you have to address it. So you see how beautiful the desert is. Desert has its own beauty. It has a such vast variety of conditions and weathers, that you may feel like you are living in a different land at morning, and at night you will feel like you are living on a different land. And similarly with weather also. At sometimes when the spring is not there, when there is whole summer, you will feel like there at desert nobody can live. But when there is spring, the desert has its own beauty. There might be chances that there is new plant that are growing, there is new trees that are growing, and it has its own beauty. Okay, so generally people are not aware of the beautifulness of the desert land, but people have generally one thing in their mind about desert, that it will be a land with full of sand and no other animal or people around there, and there will be no water. So these are the general perception that people have in their mind about desert, but it is not the actual perception they should have. They should know that how beautiful the land is. And it is also mentioned in this chapter that how beautiful the land can be, and how beautiful it actually is. It's just that the idea of desert that we have in our mind, the idea of the land that we have in our mind, is very different than generally actually experiencing it. It is said in general that if you have not experienced it, you don't know the actual beauty of the thing. So similarly, if you have never visited to the place like desert, or a place which is not that much that much greenery, so you will have the perception that it looks something like desert. So you can know about the beauty of the place until unless you actually have been there, or you actually have read about it, or ever you have seen it somewhere in the pictures. But the desert that we have in our mind, and the desert pictures of desert that we have generally seen, is just that there will be camels, there will be 2 3 people, and they will hold the containers, and they will take a very long walk to go and bring the waters for themselves. So this is the general perception that people have about desert. Okay, now let's move on to the next paragraph, students. Some desert are almost totally without water. In such places, strong winds blow raising heaps of sand and deposit them as mounds. These are called sand dunes. That shifts the moves endlessly across the desert. Few plants can survive on such dry shifting sands. So, as you know, in the previous paragraph, it has been told to us, it has been given that the beautiful land, the beautiful desert, sometime it seems like that it is as hot as Thar desert, and sometime it's cold as if it is the region like Ladakh. Okay, and what happens? The sand dims are mounted, and comparing, it looks like that it is a hill, or you can say mountain of sand. So when these type of things that occur in the desert, okay, and what is sand dunes? Sand dunes is when the actually at places like desert, what happen is that there is very strong wind. Okay, and due to that very strong wind, what happened? The sand that is present there, they get deposit at a particular place. Okay, they get deposit, and in deposition of that sand, it gets mounted over each other, and it seems like it is forming the mountain of the sand. So it looks as if it is a mountain of huge sand. And what happened, this mounting of sand is known as sand dunes. Okay, these are known as sand dunes. Okay, here sand dunes means the depositing of sand as to form a mount, or to form mountain like structure. And due to that strong wind, the sand flows from one place to another, and it deposit as if it is forming a mount. Okay, and very few plants are able to survive on the shifting mounts of the desert, right? Because the sand is always shifting. So due to that, what happens, the plants are also not able to survive at that shifting of sands. Okay, and living things that are desert adapted, and those who can live in the desert, they are of different because they have different adaptability. They are able to survive at the land of desert. Okay, so to people, land of desert is just a place where is scarcity of water, and people live there. Those who live there, they have lack of water access, they have lack of normal access also. But in general, you see that we have read till now, what we have read, that how beautifully desert is, how beautifully it changes from one climate to another in just one day. From if in the morning it is hot, and it at night it is cold, and when the rain falls there, which is very rare, it happens to form a very beautiful land where the beauty of the flowers can be seen, which is very rare there, because the time, or the fortunity that the rain will fall at that place like desert is very rare. But whenever that happens, it gives you a different kind of joy, it gives you a different kind of delightness to your eyes. So these are the things that happens in desert. So students, this is the first part of your chapter. Okay, the second part of the chapter, we will read it in the next video lecture. I hope that this particular part is clear to you, and I hope that you understood the things that are mentioned in the first part of the chapter. And for the second part, we will do the second video. Okay, so I hope that you understood it clearly, and if you have still any doubt, you can ask me in your Zoom class. Okay, thank you so much, students.